The following is transcribed.
Welcome to Condensed Bat-Supe. Now with 66% fewer superheroes than our regular podcast, which makes Condensed Bat-Supe even less nutritious, but still just as delicious. We're featuring episodes of the adventures of Superman without the caped crusaders. Tie on your capes for lots of impatience, plenty of switcheroo, and desperate deductions galore. In this edition of Condensed Bat-Supe, the Unity House story continues with the next two chapters of the Hate Mongers organization. This is Chapter 15, Rats Have Sharp Teeth, as originally broadcast on May 6th, 1946.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P, Pep. Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, presents
The Adventures of Superman. Today, as the agents of hate claim another victory in their campaign of terror, Superman, shocked and angered, realizes he must find some swift means of stemming the evil tide.
You know, Old Man Sun sure is hep when it comes to giving your day a cheerful send-off. And if you are hep to Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, your breakfast gives you a head start on a terrific day. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Pep sure is on the sunbeam when it comes to really smooth eating. Looks swell in the first place, those crisp, tender whole wheat flakes all toasted and golden, and how Pep does give a lift to your appetite. You see, Kellogg's Pep is loaded with sunshine flavor, a rich, full wheat flavor that has come on in every spoonful. There's crisp tenderness, too. Every crunchy flake is a slick treat in itself. Makes you want to dig right in and polish the bowl clean as a whistle. And that's the right idea these days, you know. It's mighty important to get the good out of every bit of your breakfast dish of Kellogg's Pep, because it's good for you, and because Pep is made from whole wheat, one of the cereal grains that have been picked out to give that swell grain nourishment to fellows and girls overseas. So, gang, this is no time to waste cereal. When Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's, make yourself a committee of one to help guard against waste. If you pour your own Pep, pour it carefully and polish off every bit you pour out. Pass the word along to the rest of your family, too. Remember, gang, eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
And now, The Adventures of Superman. In an effort to prevent the building of a community clubhouse and gymnasium whose doors would be open to all youngsters regardless of race, religion, or color, an unknown group of hate mongers, led by a man who speaks only from behind a black velvet curtain, has started a campaign of terror and violence in the city of Metropolis. Thus far, a block of stores was burned to the ground, a little Irish newsboy beaten almost to death, and as we learned in our last episode, a Jewish rabbi was stabbed during an attack on his temple. To learn the identity of the man responsible, Jimmy Olsen is masquerading as a young tough and has joined a gang led by a boy known as Muggs, and it does the dirty work for the hate mongers. As we continue now, it is the morning following the attack on Rabbi Stone. Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen are in the office of Inspector Henderson at police headquarters. Henderson is speaking.
I've had enough of this, Kent.
But, Inspector...
I'm not going to sit by and let those hoodlums run riot.
But, Inspector,
you saw the report from the hospital.
I know.
Another fraction of an inch and that knife wound the rabbi got would have killed him.
Right, well, fortunately it didn't. He's going to be all right.
That doesn't alter the fact that those pool-room bums committed a crime.
But I still...
Assault and battery with a lethal weapon. Why, I could send them up for 10 years.
Sure. And what good would it do?
What good? Society would be rid of them for a while.
Fine, and within 24 hours, others would take their place.
Well, that's a fine way to talk.
Well, it's true.
I suppose the court should never sentence anyone for committing a crime because someone else is going to commit another crime in his place.
Well, Mr. Kent didn't mean that.
Did anyone ask you, Olson?
Jim's
no,
right. You know I didn't mean it that way. This is a special situation. Those boys aren't doing these things on their own. They're being ordered and directed. Now, we've got to get at the root of this evil. And the root is the man Jimmy talked to. The man who hides behind a black curtain.
All right, let's get him. What are we waiting for?
Haven't anything on him yet.
But we will have within 24 hours.
I'm not waiting 24 hours.
Now, look,
I agreed to go along with you when they set fire to those stores and almost killed the O'Neill kid. But enough is enough. Do you realize what the papers would do to me if they got hold of this?
The papers have all been contacted by Perry White. They agreed to lay low, not to publish anything until we had a chance to thoroughly test our plan. And now we have that chance.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. Jimmy here has been given a direct assignment by the man we're after. He's going through the motions just to be able to get something on our Black Curtain friend. Once that's done, we'll have Jimmy's evidence and we can nab him and send him away for life.
Well, how do I know this is going to come off the way you tell it?
I promise you it will. Just give me another 24 hours. That's all I ask.
Oh, please, Inspector.
All right. 24 hours.
Good.
But not a split second more, and that's final.
Gee, thanks, Inspector.
And you be careful, you little whippersnapper. I don't want you getting into trouble.
Oh, don't worry about me. I've got Superman right beside me.
Sure words were never spoken, Jim. Well, we better get going. We've got plenty to do before we... Oh, go ahead, Inspector. Take it.
Thanks. Anderson speaking. Who? Yes, he's here. Just a minute. For you, Ken.
Oh, the office?
I didn't ask. I'm not a telephone operator.
Sorry.
Here.
Thanks. Hello. Yes, this is Clark Kent. Oh, hello, Father Sheehan. Yes, he's going to be all right. I should say it was lucky. What was that? When, this morning? Same kind, eh? Yes, I'll tell Inspector Henderson about it. He'll probably want to have the church policed. I certainly will. Thank you for calling, Father. Right. Goodbye.
Now what?
Dr. Leeds of the Methodist Church, he's a member of the Unity House Committee, too, got a threatening letter this morning. The same sort of a letter Rabbi Stone received yesterday.
Kent, we've got to put a stop to this.
Exactly what we're trying to do.
But nothing's happening.
He gave me 24 hours, remember?
Well, I'm not so sure I want to now.
Why?
First a druggist, then a newsboy, then a rabbi, and now a minister.
Now, wait a minute. We mustn't lose our heads. That's exactly what they're hoping for. They'd like us to fight one another.
I still say this needs action.
You're going to get action, or my name isn't Clark Kent. In the meantime, I suggest you throw a police guard around Dr. Leeds' church.
I know what to do.
It's just a suggestion. For you, Jim, I'm afraid we'll have to change our plans. We've got to find out, if we can, what form of violence they intend using on Dr. Leeds.
Oh, how can we find out?
I don't know. I guess you'll just have to go back to the pool room and contact Muggs.
But coming over here this morning, you said you didn't want me to see Muggs again.
I know.
Because there was a chance he suspected I tipped you off about the raid on Rabbi Stone's temple.
That's right, but we can't help ourselves now. We've got to know when and where and how they plan to strike. See, they may not go after the church at all. They may attack Dr. Leeds himself.
But what if Muggs does suspect me? We had it all figured out I was to go through the motions of doing the job at the art gallery. So if he was suspicious, he wouldn't be anymore. Now if I go to the pool room, I may be in trouble.
That's right, Jim, but it's a chance you'll have to take.
Now, wait a minute, Kent. You can't send him over there and let him stick his neck out.
Don't worry about it, Inspector. Jim's going to a story that'll make them sit up and take notice.
What do you mean, Mr. Kent?
Just this. Up to now, you've been spying on them for us. Now you're going to spy on us for them.
Hey, Skinny. Seen Muggs around?
He's in a back room with Lefty.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Muggs. Hi, Lefty.
Oh, it's you, Come on in.
Got something to tell you, Muggs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Better be good.
What's the matter, Muggs? You sore at me?
Go ahead. What do you got to tell me?
You had to slip a knife to a guy at the temple last night, didn't you?
How'd you know? Who told you?
Nobody told me.
How'd you know?
Well, give me a chance and I'll tell you.
Go ahead, spill it.
All right. I was sitting in the drugstore where you guys left me when I got that stomach ache, and they brought in a guy half dead. I heard them talking. They said he got knifed in the Jewish temple, so I figured you guys did it.
What'd they say? They say anything about descriptions?
No, the guy that got knifed, after a while he come to. Cop asked him if he could describe the guy that did it, and he said no.
Ah, you see, Lefty, what I tell you. Olsen, you're a lifesaver. Lefty's been sitting here beating his brains out, figuring a bull was going to nab him.
Oh. Lefty done a knifing?
Yeah, he had it. The guy was laying for us.
No kidding.
Yeah. I figured maybe some wise guy tipped him off, or maybe he was just there. Anyway, as long as he couldn't give the cops no descriptions, we were okay.
Yeah, didn't bust up the place then.
Nah, but Lefty sure put a lot of knife in that guy.
You know who it was?
Who?
The rabbi.
How do you know?
The guys that carried him in the drugstore said it was him. I thought you knew it.
We didn't know from nothing. All we knew was the guy was throwing a lot of punches and throwing them fast. I had to tell Lefty to slip into shift. Boy, are we lucky. Couldn't give no descriptions.
Yeah, we sure are. What's the next job, Muggs?
Who says we got a job?
Well, just asking. I kind of figure I got to make up for fading out on you guys last night. I'm sure I can pull jobs, too.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Know anything about car engines?
Automobiles?
Yeah.
Sure. I worked in a garage once. Remember I told you, in Philly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Did you ever rig a torpedo?
A what?
A torpedo. You hook it up to the engine. When a guy starts his car, it blows up.
Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah. You want to help?
Sure.
Okay, Lefty here ain't feeling so good. You can take his place.
Whose car are we gonna work on?
You'll see when we get there.
When we doing it?
Tonight. And this time we ain't running into no trouble. This time the job's gonna get pulled right.
We'll be back in a moment for the tense climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, there are so many keen ways of serving up Kellogg's Pep for breakfast that, well, maybe you haven't tried them all. Of course, Pep with milk and sugar makes a terrific dish, but for a little extra zip, try a Pep Banana Split. That's this week's Pep Dish of the Week, and it's a honey. Here's how it's made. Sprinkle a layer of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, in the bottom of your bowl. Top with half a banana that's been split down the middle, then more Pep and the rest of the banana. Add milk and sugar, and then pitch into your Pep Banana Split. A mighty slick combination. What those crisp flakes of Kellogg's Pep do for that banana. Yes, sir, Pep Sunshine flavor and golden toasted goodness sure do rise and shine. Why, each spoonful teases for another until, first thing you know, you're finishing off the last smooth spoonful in your bowl. And a good thing that is, because this dish is good for you. What's more, it's off the beam to waste cereal nowadays when we're sending the cereal grains to fellows and girls across the seas. Keep that in mind, gang, when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Make it your job to see that it's not wasted. Handle the package carefully if you pour your own Pep, and polish off every bit you pour out. Eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
Returning to Clark Kent's apartment from the pool room, Jimmy Olsen reports what he has learned to the Daily Planet reporter, who, as we know, is Superman.
And that's all Muggs told me, Mr. Kent. I'm supposed to meet him at the pool room about 8 o'clock tonight.
Mm-hmm. They're going to attach a bomb to the ignition system of a car, is that it?
Yeah, he called it a torpedo.
He didn't say whose car.
No, but if the Methodist minister got the warning letter, I guess it must be his car.
Yeah, probably. I better call him. What time is it, Jim?
Almost noon.
Well, he'd be at home, I guess. I've got his number here in my book somewhere. Oh, here we are. Dr. Charles Leeds, Metropolis 8532.
Oh, what are you going to tell him?
Not to use his car.
Oh.
E8. You ought to meet at the pool room at 8.
Uh-huh.
That gives us plenty of time to have a talk with Inspector Henderson and make... Hello, Dr. Leeds. Oh, this is Clark Kent of the Daily Planet. Yeah, well, the reason I called, Doctor, was to ask you whether you had any intentions of using your car tonight. What was that? Oh, I see. Well, that's very interesting. No, nothing particular. Yes, I will, Doctor. Yes, at the first opportunity. Thanks a lot. Goodbye. Jim, we're in trouble.
Trouble?
Dr. Leeds doesn't own a car.
For a moment, Kent's statement fails to register on Jimmy. Then, as it penetrates, the young reporter's expression is one of bewilderment. If it isn't Dr. Leeds, the one who received the threatening letter, who is the next unknowing victim of the Hate Mongers? Gang, you're in for a surprise tomorrow, as Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen almost missed the boat in a thrill-packed episode entitled Death on Wheels. So don't fail to listen. Same time, same station.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at the same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. Say, how about being a pal to your dog like he is to you? Sure, do him a good turn. Treat him to Kellogg's Grow Pup dog food. Why, it beats all how many dogs give Grow Pup the glad eye. It's so full of meaty flavor, and there are 3 different kinds to pick from. There's Grow Pup Ribbon, Grow Pup Meal, and Grow Pup Pellets. You can give your dog the kind he likes best because they all have what it takes to help keep him right on the beam. For lots of muscle, for strong bones and teeth, Ask Mother to base your dog's diet on Kellogg's Grow Pup every day. And be sure to be with us tomorrow for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
And now, faster than a speeding bullet. Condensed Bat-Supe proudly presents Chapter 16 of the Hate Mongers organization. The episode titled Death on Wheels, which was originally broadcast on May 7th, 1946.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P, Pep. Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, presents
The Adventures of Superman. Today, Jimmy Olsen's report of a new attack about to be launched by Muggs and his wolf pack has brought confusion to the plans of Superman. Plans he had hoped would bring swift justice to those seeking to spread the germs of hate and prejudice.
Hi there, gang. This is your pal Dan McCullough. Say, have you tried the Pep Dish of the Week? It's got a nifty name, and it's a surefire way to add a little extra punch to breakfast. It's a Pep Banana Split, as terrific a dish as you'd ever want to taste. Now, here's how it goes. You sprinkle a layer of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, in the bottom of your bowl. Then cut a banana in half, split it down the middle, and arrange on top of the Pep. Then pour on more Pep and top with the other piece of banana. And there you are, gang, a Pep Banana Split. A solid sort of dish that your appetite will really latch on to, because those crisp, tender flakes of Kellogg's Pep are way out in front when it comes to tickling your taste. You see, Pep is called the Sunshine cereal, and it's loaded with sunny, golden toasted flavor. Good for you, too. Your mom knows that. So no matter how you serve it, Kellogg's Pep tastes so terrific that, well, you'll want to eat up every last bit in your bowl. And that's especially on the beam nowadays, when the cereal grains are being sent to fellas and girls all over the world. So get hep to Pep, gang. Don't waste it. When Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's, take special pains to make sure there's no waste of cereal at your house. If you pour your own cereal, pour it carefully and polish off every bit you pour out. Make it a habit to eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
And now, The Adventures of Superman. Accepted as a member of the juvenile gang led by a boy known only as Muggs, a gang doing the dirty work for a hate-mongering organization calling themselves the Guardians of America, young Jimmy Olsen, cub reporter for the Daily Planet, has secured some valuable information. At the moment, however, his latest tip to Clark Kent has resulted in confusion. Muggs and his gang are about to commit another act of violence, this time attaching a small bomb to the engine of an automobile, set to explode when the engine is started. Both Kent and Jimmy were certain the attack was going to be directed against the Reverend Dr. Leeds, pastor of the Methodist Church. But in yesterday's episode, as you remember, they learned that Dr. Leeds did not own a car. As we continue now, Kent and Jimmy are conferring with Father Sheehan, the Catholic priest who was acting as chairman of the committee attempting to build a community clubhouse in Metropolis.
I don't know, Kent. Things like this make me wonder sometimes whether it's true that a soft word turneth away wrath. Maybe we are going about this in the wrong way. Maybe Inspector Henderson is right. Iron bars and a mailed fist.
Oh, you know that's not so, Father.
Yes, of course, Jimmy, I know. I believe in the 10 Commandments, and I've tried to live by them. But when I heard about the murderous attack on Rabbi Stone, well, if those young hoodlums had been anywhere within arm's reach, I'm sure I don't know what I might have done.
I doubt that you'd have done anything violent, Father, but that's neither here nor there. Incidentally, it might interest you to know that while Rabbi Stone is recovering from the knife wound, Dr. Leeds is going to preach the sermons at the rabbi's temple.
Well, that's fine, Kent, fine.
And speaking of Dr. Leeds, we're still a little confused about the latest information Jimmy got from Muggs, that an attempt is going to be made to blow up a car.
Leeds doesn't own a car?
No, he doesn't.
No, neither do you. Neither does Rabbi Stone. That leaves the 3 lay members of the Unity House Committee, Dave Hoffman, the druggist, George Murphy, the retired police inspector, and Mr. Walters, principal of the school.
And you feel certain the attack will be against a member of the committee?
Oh, sure it will.
Well, it's anybody's guess, but up to now, every act of violence has been directed against a committee member. These self-styled guardians of America seem determined to keep you from building Unity House.
Well, what about Mr. Klein?
Who, Jim?
Mr. Klein, the man who owns the art gallery.
Oh, yes, I forgot about him.
Is this something I missed?
Well, it's something we missed telling you, probably. Jimmy got a personal assignment from Mr. Rat himself, the high mucky-muck who seems to be running the Guardians of America. An assignment to destroy some valuable paintings in an art gallery belonging to a man named Klein.
Well, you're certainly not going through with it.
Yes, we are, as the phrase goes for the papers.
Kent, I don't understand. Stores can be rebuilt and wounds can heal, but art treasures can never be replaced.
Don't you worry, Father. Nothing will be damaged or destroyed. What we plan to do, and we would have done it today if this car business hadn't come up, is call Mr. Klein in and explain the entire situation to him. Undoubtedly, we'll get his cooperation.
You mean he'll let you destroy his paintings?
Oh, no, not really.
Just for the papers, Father. You see, boiled down, what we'll do is fake a story and print it in the Daily Planet. A story to the effect that a vandal slashed and cut 5 or 6 valuable paintings in Klein's art gallery. The net of it will be that Mr. Rat will think Jimmy here has carried out his assignment and can be trusted implicitly.
Oh, yes, now I get it.
Then with that trust established, we're hoping he'll come out from behind his black curtain and let Jimmy get a look at him for future identification.
And then what?
Well, then the rest is easy. We'll nab Mr. Rat. We know where his hole is. Jimmy can identify him as the man who directed the Hate Mongers and who ordered Muggs and his gang to commit various acts of violence. And unless I'm dead wrong, he'll go up for life.
So the only problem at the moment is whose automobile they plan to blow up.
That's right. Dave Hoffman owns a car, but he's already been attacked. Of course, that doesn't eliminate him completely.
Kent, what about George Murphy?
The retired cop?
That's right.
Yes, he has a car. So has the school principal, Mr. Walters. They've all been warned to be on the lookout, though. In addition, Inspector Henderson has assigned a police mechanic to each one of them. He'll examine their cars before they drive them.
Well, you seem to have covered everything.
Well, what about Mr. Klein?
I don't know. I don't think he fits into this picture, Jim. They wouldn't waste 2 attacks on him.
Well, why are they attacking Klein at all? Because he's Jewish?
You know, from what Jim could gather, he contributed to the Unity House Building Fund.
Oh, I see. Oh, speaking of contributions, Kent.
Yeah?
That $10,000 check from your editor, Mr. White, came in this morning.
Oh, good.
I'll thank him for that personally, but I want to thank you for that piece in the paper.
The what?
Well, the write-up in the Daily Planet.
Oh, what write-up? You mean to
Just
say...
a minute, Jim. What's this all about, Father?
Well, Kent, I'm surprised you don't know about this. I was sure you'd written the article.
Well, what's it about, Father?
Well, wait a minute. I think I have the paper right here. There you are. It's right on the front page.
See, Father.
What's it say, Mr. Kent?
There's Unity House Fund swelling. Planet announces $10,000 contribution.
Oh, did you write it, Mr. Kent?
No, Jim, I didn't. Let's see. The Unity House Building Fund, earmarked for the construction of a gymnasium and playground whose doors will be open to all Metropolis children, regardless of race, religion, or color, was swelled considerably today when Perry White, editor of the Planet, announced a contribution of $10,000.
As Clark Kent reads the article in the Daily Planet, almost at the same moment, someone else is reading it aloud with as much, if not more, interest. None other than the still unidentified leader of the Guardians of America.
This contribution, together with the contributions of all those interested in the furtherance of better understanding among people, will go far toward achieving the goal, according to Father Francis Sheehan, Rabbi Harry Stone, and Dr. William Lead, interfaith members of the committee. Very interesting, don't you think, Eric?
$10,000 is a lot of money.
Well, that sounds strange coming from you. How much did you spend in this country alone during the war trying to buy military secrets?
That is another story. They are building a gymnasium, not a battleship.
They're building nothing, I promise you. I was waiting for the Daily Planet to get behind this. Now we'll have to get behind the Daily Planet with a knife.
How?
I'll show you how. Call the pool room first and instruct Muggs to come here as soon as possible. You know the number?
Yes.
And the code line?
Yes. Tell Muggs his mother wants him.
Right. And use the phone in the other room. I want to use this one to call the editor of the Daily Planet.
You're joking.
Don't look so shocked, Eric. What's wrong with my calling a newspaper editor?
You are supposed to remain in the background.
Don't worry, I will. I'm calling Mr. Perry White to invite him to play the lead in a little drama I've just created. I suppose you might call it a tragedy. The title could be Death on Wheels.
Death on Wheels. What does the mysterious leader of the self-styled Guardians of America mean? We'll know in a moment when we return for the exciting climax of today's episode. So keep listening.
You know, breakfast sure does give your appetite the old come-on when there's a bowl of Kellogg's Pep at your place at the table. Pep looks so sunny and crisp and golden that, well, you'll want to pull up a chair and pitch right in. And Pep the Sunshine cereal tastes just as good as it looks, believe me. Pep Sunshine flavor is so smooth and rich it kind of sparkles on your tongue. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Pep is a surefire hit when it comes to brightening up breakfast. Sends you off to school in the right mood for a good day. You see, when there's Kellogg's Pep for breakfast, you're getting solid whole wheat nourishment plus. So it's a slick trick to polish off every single flake in your bowl. And here's another angle, gang. Nowadays, the cereal grains, like the whole wheat and Kellogg's Pep, are being sent to fellas and girls overseas. So it's not a good idea to waste cereal. No, sir. Keep on the beam when Mother brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's. Don't waste it. If you pour your own Pep, pour it carefully and eat up every bit you pour out. And kind of keep an eye on your younger brothers and sisters, too. Just be sure to eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
As the result of a newspaper article announcing that editor Perry White of the Daily Planet had donated $10,000 to the Unity House Building Fund, the as yet unidentified head of the hate mongering organization calling themselves the Guardians of America has decided to direct his next violent attack against the gray-haired editor. As we continue now, we return to the study of a sumptuous penthouse apartment, headquarters of the so-called Guardians. Their unnamed leader is being addressed by a blond, Germanic-looking man called Eric, who speaks with a trace of an accent.
I have just called the pool room. Muggs will be here shortly.
Good. Now we have to plan this so there will be no slip-up. You know the expression, kill two birds with one stone?
I have heard it.
Well, we're going to try to kill two enemies with one bomb.
I do not understand.
The original plan, as you remember, was to strike at that Methodist minister, Dr. Leeds. However, we learned that he did not drive a car, and at the last moment we switched to another member of that committee, the school principal. But we're going to switch back.
How? The device is no good unless it is attached to the ignition system of an automobile engine?
That's exactly where it will be attached.
But you say the minister has no car.
Listen. I'm about to call Perry White, editor of the Daily Planet. I think you will find the conversation very interesting.
Perry White speaking.
Mr. White?
Yes?
This is Father Sheehan, Mr. White, of St. Catherine's.
Oh, yes. Hello, Father. How are you?
Quite well, thank you. And you?
Fine, fine.
That's good.
Oh, did you get my check, Father?
Why, yes. In fact, that's why I'm calling. First, to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, it's nothing, really.
And then to invite you to attend the meeting to be held at my parish house this evening. The members of my committee would deeply appreciate some advice from you as the editor of the country's most important newspaper.
Oh, I'll be happy to do anything I can, Father.
I knew you would, Mr. White. Now, one more little favor.
Name it, and it's yours.
I assume you have a car?
Why, yes.
And you'll be driving from your office to the parish house this evening?
Yes, I suppose so.
Well, then, would you mind terribly, Mr. White, picking up one of our committee members on your way?
No, not at all. Who is it?
The Reverend Dr. Leeds of the Methodist Church. If you have a pencil and paper handy, I'll give you his home address.
The Reverend Dr. Leeds, victim number 3 in the campaign of hate and intolerance. But this time the attack is aimed at two people. As the leader of the Guardians of America said, we'll kill two enemies with one bomb. Innocent and unaware, Perry White is stepping into a trap from which the only escape may be death. Don't miss tomorrow's tense, thrill-packed episode entitled 1 Minute to Murder.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at the same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal. Say, if your dog is a softie, here's a little trick that you can try to help give him lots of muscle. Mix Kellogg's Grow Pup dog food in with his scraps of meat and fat. See if it doesn't make his eyes brighter and his coat glossy. And see if it doesn't give him lots of oof, so that pretty soon he'll be able to take it and scramble right along with the gang. Lots of champs feed on Grow Pup, you know. So let your dog have his pick of Grow Pup ribbon, Grow Pup meal, or Grow Pup pellets. Just so Mother remembers, write Kellogg's Grow Pup on her marketing list right now. And be sure to be with us tomorrow for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
And now it's time for a Condensed Bat-Supe extra helping, because sometimes heroes work for Uncle Sam. This extra helping features a very special episode of This Is Your FBI and stars Stacey Harris as Agent Jim Taylor. You might recognize him as one of the actors who played Batman on The Adventures of Superman, as featured in earlier episodes of Bat-Supe. He's also portraying the part of Father Sheehan in the current storyline as well. He'll need all of his detective skills for this episode if he's to facilitate the return of Saint Nick, as broadcast on December 24th, 1948.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society presents This Is Your FBI. This is Your FBI, the official broadcast from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Presented as a public service by the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community. For the past 3 weeks, the Equitable Life Assurance Society has been offering members of this radio audience the famous fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. And each week, as soon as the program ended, listeners began phoning their Equitable Society representative, asking to bring around copies of this chart. Tonight, I'm going to suggest that you put off your phone call till next week. This Christmas Eve, Equitable Society representatives like yourselves are busy trimming trees, laying out presents, and putting up Christmas holly wreaths and mistletoe. But next week, be sure to call an Equitable representative about the fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. I'll tell you more about it in about 14 minutes. Tonight's FBI file, The Return of Saint Nick.
The United States is a young country in the family of nations, but already it has its share of national holidays. Holidays that belong to these 48 states. Those holidays are spaced from February to November, and of every one of those days, it can be said that they belong to the people of the United States exclusively. But there is one legal holiday observed in this country that does not belong to us exclusively, any more than it belongs to any nation. It, too, celebrates a birthday. A birthday which has come to mean much in the hearts of millions of people. A birthday we call Christmas. Tonight's file opens in an FBI field office located in a large eastern city. It is 2 days before Christmas, and Special Agent Jim Taylor has just entered the office of Agent in Charge, Sheridan.
Morning, Jim.
Morning, sir. I've got my report here on the Henderson case.
Fine. Just leave it on my desk.
All right.
You're officially on leave, aren't you, Jim?
Yes, sir, as of this morning. But I wanted to hand this in before I left.
Going out of town for the holiday?
That's right, sir. I'm flying home this afternoon.
Oh, how long since you've been home on Christmas?
Oh, not since before the war.
Well, have a nice trip, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
And a very Merry Christmas.
And the same to you, sir.
Mister?
Yes, what is it, son?
Where's the FBI?
Right down there at the end of the hall.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
What do you want with the FBI, son?
Well, we've got some trouble, and I thought they could help us.
Well, I'm a special agent. You think I could help?
Are you a G-man?
That's right. What kind of trouble have you got?
Well, Santa Claus is missing.
Well, now that is trouble.
His name is Mr. Norton, and we've got to find him. We looked all over.
Who looked all over?
All of us older fellas at the settlement house. We went every place.
All of you older fellas, huh?
Yeah.
How old are you, son?
I'll be 10 next month.
I see.
Can you help us, mister?
Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you what we'll do first. Let's go downstairs and get an ice cream soda, and you can tell me the whole story.
is the settlement house, Mr. Taylor.
It's a nice-looking building.
Here, we go in this door.
Okay. Go ahead, son.
Mr. Williams' office isn't there. Gee, he's a nice man.
I'm sure he is. This door here?
Yeah. But first we must knock.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Come in.
Hello, Mr. Williams.
Hello, Eddie.
This is Mr. Taylor.
Well, how do you do, Mr. Taylor?
Glad to meet you, sir.
Mr. Taylor's a G-man.
He is?
Yeah, I got him to help us find Mr. Norton.
I see.
Well, I've got to run now. Choir practice starts in 10 minutes.
All right, Eddie, you go ahead. I'll explain everything to Mr. Taylor.
See you later, Eddie.
Okay.
I'm sorry you were bothered by Eddie, Mr. Taylor.
No bother at all, Mr. Williams. Eddie made me feel genuinely concerned.
I'm sure he did. We're all very concerned about Mr. Norton.
Well, if there's anything at all I can do, unofficially, of course, I'd be very happy to.
That's very nice of you.
What happened to this Mr. Norton? Who is he?
Well, Pop Norton has worked here at the settlement house longer than anyone can remember.
I see. How old would you say he is?
I guess around 60 or 65.
And his job here?
Nothing in particular. He did odd jobs around the house in return for his room and board and a few dollars a month. The biggest job he had was being Santa Claus every year at the Christmas party. Every child in the house was crazy about him, and he loved every one of them in return.
Eddie said he was missing. Is that true?
Yes. I've no idea where he could have gone.
What made him leave?
That's the odd part of it. No one seems to know. Yesterday, he sent one of the boys in with a note to me saying he was leaving immediately.
I see.
I went to his room, and he was gone. I'm afraid it's not going to be much of a Christmas for the children without Pop.
Mr. Williams, do you mind if I take a look around his room?
Not at all.
Maybe I can find something there that will lead us to where Santa Claus is hiding.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior.
Mr. Williams. May I see you for a moment?
Certainly. Keep singing, boys. Let's walk over here. Did you find anything in Mr. Norton's room, Mr. Taylor?
Not a thing, Mr. Williams. The room was cleaned out. Tell me, what do you know about Mr. Norton? What did he do on his day off? Who were his friends?
He never took a day off that I can remember.
No?
The only pleasure he got out of life besides serving the kids was reading. He always had 3 or 4 books from the library down the street.
I have a hunch Mr. Norton isn't going to be too difficult to find.
Why do you say that?
Well, from what you've told me, he's a man of about 60 with no outside interests. The only things he likes are reading and children. That kind of a man doesn't usually run very far.
Pardon me.
Certainly.
All right, boys, you can rest a while. Sorry, Mr. Taylor. Please go on.
Well, I was about to say that I think he's probably still here in the neighborhood.
Mr. Taylor! Mr. Taylor!
Oh, hello, Eddie.
Oh, excuse me, sir.
All right, Eddie.
Mr. Taylor, I've been working on the case.
Good for you, son. What did you find?
Well, I spoke to a boy who saw Pop just before he left.
Well, that's fine. What did he say?
He told me that he was playing with Pop yesterday when 2 ladies came into the gym.
2 ladies?
Yeah. Pop saw them, and he went and hid in the closet until they went away.
When was this, Eddie?
Just before milk.
Just before milk?
Well, that's at 4 o'clock. They all get milk and cookies.
Oh, I see. Well, thanks, Eddie. You've been a big help.
You're welcome, Mr. Taylor.
Oh, now, you stay here a minute, Eddie. I've got another job for you.
Gee, thanks.
Mr. Williams, do you know the 2 women who came here yesterday?
One of them was a Mrs. Chester. She's on the board of governors. She brought a wealthy friend of hers to try to interest her in contributing to the house.
I see. Do you know the friend's name?
No, I don't. But I can find it out for Mrs. Chester.
Oh, I'd appreciate you doing that. Now, Eddie, you ready for your assignment?
Yes, sir. Anything.
All right. I want you to go to the library down the street and see if Mr. Norton is there.
Yes, sir.
And if he's not there, wait around for him. I think he might come in for some new books. Mr. Sheridan, can I see you for a minute?
Certainly, Jim. Come on in.
Thank you.
I thought you'd be on your way home by now.
Yes, so did I.
What happened?
Well, when I left your office this morning, a young boy stopped me in the hall and asked for some help.
What kind of help?
Well, he belongs to the Murray Street Settlement House. It seems that their Santa Claus has disappeared.
What?
He wanted us to find him. I went back with him and talked to the head of the house.
What's the story?
Well, this Mr. Norton has worked at the settlement house for about 30 years. Yesterday, he suddenly quit.
Why?
Nobody seems to know. except that he saw 2 women come in and hid in a closet until they left. Then he packed all his belongings and disappeared.
I see.
I know this isn't our case, sir, but, well, I'd like to ask a favor.
Well, what is it?
We have no picture of this man, sir, and I'd like to have an artist go over to the settlement house, talk to the kids, and make up a composite picture of Mr. Norton.
What do you want that for?
Well, I have a hunch Mr. Norton is still in the neighborhood. I'd like to circulate the picture and see if we can't get him back to the settlement house in time to be Santa Claus again this year.
What about your trip home, Jim?
Oh, it can wait a day. I don't mind.
Well, you go ahead. We'll find an artist, and more than that, you can use any facilities we've got.
No, thanks very much, sir.
Excuse me.
Certainly.
Sheridan speaking.
Is Mr. Taylor there?
Yes, just a moment. It's for you, Jim.
Oh, thanks. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Taylor. I've got that information for you.
Oh, fine.
The woman with Mrs. Chester yesterday was a Mrs. Norman Montgomery. She lives at 310 North Jackson Avenue.
Mrs. Norman Montgomery, 310 North Jackson Avenue. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Williams.
She must have been the one Pop was afraid of.
Oh, why do you say that?
Well, Mrs. Chester has been on friendly terms with Pop for 15 years.
Oh, I see. Oh, Mr. Williams, I'm sending an artist over. I'd appreciate your letting him talk to all of the children so that he can make up a composite picture of Mr. Norton for us.
We'll do anything we can to help, Mr. Taylor.
Fine. He should be there in about, half an hour.
Wait a minute. Eddie wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Here he is.
Hello, Mr. Taylor.
Hello, Eddie. What did you find out?
Nothing. I went to the library like you said, but Pop never came.
Well, you go back there, Eddie, and keep watching. Don't give up so easily.
All right, Mr. Taylor. I'll go back right now.
Attaboy. And you tell all of your friends up there that if it's at all possible for the FBI to find Santa Claus, we'll have him there tomorrow night for that party.
Just a moment, please.
Mrs. Montgomery?
Yes?
My name is Taylor. I'm from the FBI. Here are my credentials, ma'am.
Oh, what can I do for you, Mr. Taylor?
I'd like to come in and talk to you, if you don't mind.
Come in.
Thank you.
What is it you want?
I'm checking up on something, and I'd like to ask you a few questions.
What sort of questions?
Well, the first one would be, were you at the Murray Street Settlement House yesterday?
Why, yes, I was. With a Mrs. Chester. What has that to do with you?
Oh, it has nothing to do with me, Mrs. Montgomery, but it might have something to do with a man who disappeared.
What are you talking about?
Well, this man who disappeared seemed to be afraid of being seen by you, according to what I can gather.
What?
Oh, that's merely a theory, Mrs. Montgomery.
Oh, why would he be afraid of me?
Well, that's what we don't know.
Who is this man?
Oh, I have a composite picture made by one of the artists in our office. Here. Well, do you recognize him?
Yes, I do. I haven't seen or talked with him in 30 years, but I know him.
Who is he?
He's my brother, Kenneth.
Why would your own brother try to avoid you?
He had a good reason.
And what's that, Mrs. Montgomery?
Kenneth is a common thief.
We will return in just a moment to tonight's unofficial case from the files of your FBI.
Now, a Christmas message to parents from the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States.
Fathers and mothers, on this night before Christmas, when the children are nestled all snug in their beds, when the stockings hang by the chimney with care, most of us realize, perhaps more strongly than at any other moment in the year, how much our children mean to us. At such a time, therefore, it is perhaps not unsuitable to discuss one of the most unselfish gifts a father can give to his family, the gift of life insurance. Life insurance is the loving father's way of making sure that his love will continue to watch over his family, no matter what may happen to him. Through life insurance, he makes certain that they will have an adequate income to live in comfort and security if he should be taken from them. To help you to determine what that income should be, the Equitable Life Assurance Society has published a special chart. It is called the Fact-Finding Chart for Fathers and Mothers. Its purpose is to help you make an accurate estimate of how much money your wife and children would require to carry them through the critical years until the youngest child finishes high school. You will be able to fill in this chart in 5 minutes because you are guided every step of the way by simple, easy-to-understand pictures. It is offered to all parents as a public service by the Equitable Life Assurance Society without charge or obligation. Simply phone your nearby Equitable Society representative and ask him to bring you the fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. Or send a postcard addressed to the Equitable Society, care of this ABC station. Your request will be forwarded to the nearest representative of the Equitable Society.
That's EQUITABLE.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. And now back to the FBI file, The Return of St. Nick.
Hate is a vicious emotion which feeds upon itself and becomes greater as time goes on. It utterly destroys every person it possesses because it ruins their judgment by robbing them of their ability to see both sides of any question. Ultimately, it must warp the mind to such a degree that only a paramount shock can restore any degree of mental balance. As you can see from tonight's case from the files of your FBI, hate can make two members of the same family stop talking for 30 years, for a period of time that is almost half the allotted time of man on earth. That kind of hatred can consume a person, an industry, or a nation. For when a nation hates that way, the lone possible outlet is war. No one person can prevent a war between nations, but every one of you can make this a much merrier holiday season for yourself by resolving to live your life with full dignity as a human being. Tonight's file continues in the apartment of Mrs. Montgomery.
Mrs. Montgomery, would you mind telling me why you accuse your brother of being a common thief?
It's a family matter, Mr. Taylor, and I'd rather not discuss it.
I see.
I assume that your business with me is concluded?
Yes, I'm afraid it is, Mrs. Montgomery. And I'm sorry because you're the one person I hope could help us find your brother.
What do you want to find him for? To arrest him?
Oh, no. No, until his disappearance, he worked at the Murray Street Settlement House. The children there love him. It's very important to them that he be found so he can play Santa Claus at their Christmas party.
I haven't seen him for 30 years. I've no idea where he might be, and frankly, I don't care.
Miss Montgomery, may I ask you again why you believe your brother is a thief?
Well, I might as well tell you the whole story. If you'll promise to keep it confidential. I naturally want no publicity.
No, I assure you your story will not be publicized.
Very well. More than 30 years ago, shortly after my father's death, Kenneth forged my name to a check for $10,000.
How did you find out that he did it?
It was perfectly obvious. He was an irresponsible young man. Shortly after the forgery, he suddenly had a lot of money.
Did anyone ask him where he got it?
Yes. Yes, he said he made it as a result of an investment. But patently, that was a lie.
Did you discover the forgery yourself, Mrs. Montgomery?
No, I didn't. The Mr. Bryant, who was the executor of my father's estate and an old friend of the family's, found out about it and came and told me.
Mm-hmm. And you never prosecuted the matter?
No. Mr. Bryant convinced me that I shouldn't risk ruining our family's name.
Mrs. Montgomery, did it ever occur to you that your brother might have been telling you the truth?
He couldn't have.
Well, if you don't mind my saying so, I think that anyone who has his record with children deserves more of a chance than that. Do you by any chance still have the forged check?
Yes, I have it.
Would you have any samples of your brother's handwriting of that period?
Yes. I kept all of the papers in the case in a special file.
And do you have that file handy?
Yes.
I wonder if I might borrow it.
For what purpose?
I'd like to see if a hunch I have about your brother's innocence is correct.
Mr. Taylor.
Oh, hello, Eddie. Here, have a chair.
Thanks.
Eddie, what are you doing wearing a mustache?
Well, I bought a disguise kit, Mr. Taylor, so I could stay at the library and watch out for Mr. Norton without him recognizing me.
Oh, that's a good idea, Eddie. Well, did you see Mr. Norton?
Yes, I did.
Oh, when?
Well, he didn't show up at all last night. I stayed until the library closed.
Mm-hmm.
But you told me to stay on it, so I went back this morning. And he came to the library about 10 o'clock.
Did you talk to him?
I tried to talk to him, but he said he didn't know me.
He did?
Yeah, so I took off the red wig I was wearing. But he still said he didn't know me.
Oh, I didn't think you'd do that.
Then he turned around and walked out of the library. I trailed him, just like I saw a detective do in the movies.
Where did he go, Eddie?
I wrote down the address, Mr. Taylor. Here it is, 71 Vernon Avenue.
Vernon Avenue. That's not far from the settlement house, is it?
No, it's only about 2 blocks.
Well, good work, partner.
Here's that report from handwriting, Jim.
Oh, thanks, Carl. Thanks very much.
What's that, Mr. Taylor?
I had some papers analyzed by our handwriting experts, Eddie.
Are you going to see Pop now?
In a little while. But first, I've got another call to make. You go back over to the settlement house. I'll see you there later on. Good morning, Mrs. Montgomery.
Good morning.
May I come in?
Surely.
Thank you. Oh, I have some news about your brother.
What kind of news?
I took your file of papers down to the handwriting analysis department at our office.
Why did you do that?
Because I wanted them to study the signature on that forged check and then compare it with samples of your brother's handwriting.
I don't understand why you had them do all that work.
Well, Mrs. Montgomery, when this crime was committed, modern scientific handwriting analysis was not used in cases of this kind.
So?
So today it is possible for experts to examine handwriting and make sound judgment based on their studies. Those experts have just written a report stating that your brother did not forge that check.
I can't believe it.
Nevertheless, it's true. I know it isn't very polite to speak ill of the dead, but according to our studies, the executor of the estate, Mr. Bryant, is the man who forged that check.
Mr. Bryant?
That's right.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, I think that whatever you do have to say ought to be said to your brother.
But he's disappeared.
Oh, he was found this afternoon in a rooming house over on Vernon Avenue.
Mr. Taylor, I'm not a young woman anymore. About all I have left is my pride. Will you ask Kenneth to come to see me tonight?
Well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Montgomery. I think your brother has some pride himself. After all, he ran away when he was innocent. No, I'd suggest that if you want to see him, you meet us.
Where?
Well, if everything goes well, we'll be at the settlement house at 8 o'clock tonight.
Who's there?
Mr. Norton?
That's right.
I'd like to talk to you, sir.
Come in.
Thank you. Mr. Norton, I'm from the FBI. Here are my credentials.
What do you want here?
I came up here to ask you to come back to the settlement house.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that's any of your business.
Well, you're quite right, sir. It isn't. But may I ask you a question?
What is it?
Why did you leave?
Oh, I got tired of listening to all those kids yelling and screaming in my ears.
I find it pretty difficult to believe, sir, that anyone who spent 30 years with children as you have would suddenly get to dislike them that much.
Well, maybe that's not the reason. Maybe I've got reasons of my own that I don't want to talk about.
Could it possibly be because of your sister?
Who told you that?
Oh, I'm sorry if I seem to have pried into your affairs, Mr. Norton, but I've been to see your sister.
What for?
I went there because I was trying to find you. She told me about that check for $10,000.
She did?
Yes. And with the aid of the FBI laboratory, we showed your sister that you didn't forge your name. Mr. Bryant was the guilty one.
What did you say?
I said Mr. Bryant was the one who forged that check.
How do you know that?
Well, handwriting analysis proved it.
You told this to my sister?
Yes.
Did she believe you?
Yes, she did. And she'd like to see you. She'd like to try to make amends. I asked her to come to the settlement house tonight.
I don't want to see her.
Oh, now, Mr. Norton. Look, it's Christmas Eve. This is no time to feel that way.
If she's coming to the settlement house, I won't go back there.
Now, look, Mr. Norton, you're not going to let all of those kids down. Now, come on. Put on your coat. If we hurry, we can get there for the beginning of the party.
Hey, it started to snow just in time. The kids will be happy. Makes it seem more like Christmas when it snows.
Sure does.
Yeah, here we are.
Go ahead, Mr. Norton.
Yeah, there you are. A little late. Suppose the party's already started.
Yes, I think so.
I better hurry upstairs and get into my Santa Claus suit.
Oh, it's in Mr. Williams' office. He told me to bring you right in.
Oh, fine.
You go ahead in, sir. I'll wait for you out here.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Kenneth.
Grace.
Mr. Taylor was kind enough to invite me to the party.
I know.
You haven't changed much, Kenneth.
Grace.
I'm so ashamed.
Oh, there now.
All these years I falsely accused you.
Let's forget it, Grace. It's all in the past.
Can you ever forgive me?
Oh, I already have. Oh, look, this is no time for crying, Grace. Here's a hanky. Dry your eyes.
Thank you.
Now, help me on with this costume, will you?
Why, it's a Santa Claus suit.
Yeah. Yep. This is my annual job round here.
How wonderful.
Yeah. I got to really hurry, too. The party's already started. Will you hand me that wig and beard?
Surely. Here you are.
The boys are starting to sing.
Yes.
I'd better be getting out there. Well, will you join me at the party, Grace?
Of course.
Come along.
The boys are waiting for you, Mr. Norton.
I know.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Taylor.
Soon we will all begin a new year, a year that can bring us happiness, prosperity, and a rich, full life. But those goals cannot be attained without work, without hard work and long concentration. There are a few bits of advice that are applicable to everyone, but there can be no doubt that for each of us, life will be richer and fuller if we follow one set rule. If we live every day during the coming year with the love and kindness in our heart that we have on Christmas Eve. For in that way lies peace on earth, goodwill towards man.
Now, let me again remind you that the Equitable Life Assurance Society is offering its famous fact-finding chart for fathers and mothers. This helpful chart, which may make such a vast difference in the future happiness and security of your children, is yours for the asking. Phone your Equitable Society representative soon, or send a postcard to the Equitable Society, care of this ABC station. Your request will be forwarded to the nearest representative of the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States. Meanwhile, your Equitable representative wishes you a Merry, Merry Christmas. The incidents used in tonight's Equitable Life Assurance Society's broadcast are adapted from the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, all names used are fictitious, and any similarity thereof to the names of persons living or dead is accidental. Tonight, the music was composed and conducted by Frederick Steiner. The author was Jerry D. Lewis. Your narrator was William Woodson, and Special Agent Taylor was played by Stacey Harris. This is Your FBI is a Jerry Devine production.
This is Larry Keating again wishing you a Merry, Merry Christmas from the Equitable Life Assurance Society of the United States and the Equitable Society's representative in your community, and inviting you to tune in again next week at the same time to This Is Your FBI. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
Well, that'll wrap up another episode of Condensed Bat-Supe, featuring 2 more parts of the Hate Mongers organization from the adventures of Superman. Thank you for listening. Be sure to tell your friends to subscribe to Bat-Supe on their favorite podcatcher. We can also be found on YouTube and Facebook. Like what you're hearing? You can support Bat-Supe at buymeacoffee.com/BATSUPE. Learn more at bat-supe.podbean.com. We'll see you next time for another exciting edition of Condensed Bat-Supe as we bring you more of our current storyline, plus another fine Bat-Supe extra helping. Until then, up, and away!
Hello, everyone. This is Superman, bringing you best wishes for a very Merry Christmas from Lois Lane, Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, and myself. You know, after so many years of half-heartedly celebrating this wonderful holiday while the world was at war, while the many men and women we knew and loved were scattered all over the globe, Christmas today is very extra special. It's special because many of our friends and relatives are back home to celebrate Christmas with us. And because, once more, peace on earth, goodwill to men is more than just a beautiful phrase. On this Christmas day, let's all determine to do everything we can to see that this remains a lasting peace on earth through the everyday practice of goodwill to men. You see, wars grow out of misunderstanding, hate, and intolerance. All things that were preached against by the Prince of Peace, whose nativity we celebrate today. Now, if we try to understand our fellow men, if we avoid hate and banish intolerance, we would do away with the cause for war, and this scourge would forever disappear from the earth. Try to remember always that, as Abraham Lincoln said, all men are created equal. Regardless of race, creed, or color, we're all humans, entitled to the same respect and privileges. Here in America, all of us, black and white, Catholic, Protestant, and Jew, are all Americans. And we must live together peaceably at home if we are to live in peace with the rest of the world. Let's see that forever hereafter there is peace on earth, goodwill to men. A Merry Christmas to you all.